Hello and welcome. I'm your host, author Ryan M. Oliver, and this is the Mighty Books Podcast. This week's featured author, Savanna Loy. Savanna Loy is a foster mama of 6 kiddos, all ages 7 and under. Yes, you heard that correctly. Savanna is also married to her hero, her RN husband. She's a breeder of Bernedoodles, runs on Jesus and coffee, and most recently became a published author. She is determined to give readers books that let you escape life, whether that be an escape from extreme stress, an annoying boss, or just 10 minutes to be alone. Time to reset. She wants to be that author for you. This has been her dream since she was a little girl, 9 years old. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Books Podcast. Today with me, I have Savanna Loy. Savanna, how are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to have you on here. Thank you again for coming on from your, break away from your busy schedule. So today we're here to talk about your book. What's the title of your book?
So I have 2 out, but the one we're going to talk about today is Reset, and it's a dystopian novel.
Okay. And what is that about for those who don't understand what dystopian is, or a little synopsis, if you will?
So this is a fun fact. I still have never actually read a dystopian novel. In fact, this book was a dream, is how it came about. And when I was describing it to my mother, who's a book dragon, she said, "That's dystopian." And I didn't even know what that meant, to be honest with you. And it's not I'm a crime junkie thriller reader. That's what I read. And so she said, "That's dystopian." And I said, "What does that mean?" She said, "End of the world, new world changing for whatever reason."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, you're right. That's what it is." So in my book, that's exactly what happens, except it's themed to the United States only. A retired Army general is disgusted with how far America has come in its immoralness and wickedness. So he hacks. In my book, the world is all ran, which it's kind of creepy because it could happen, but everything, when you're born, your social security gets logged into a system, and through your life you're tracked. So accolades you get at work or at school, or traffic tickets, or anything negative you do, all gets inputted into a system, and to determine what kind of citizen you are and track everything that you do, what you spend your money on, gambling, et cetera, et cetera. And he hacks the system, runs an algorithm, and he finds the last 500 people in America that he deems good and moral, and he kills everybody else. And he separates 400 of them into 4 different cities that he's repopulated in the United States. And he implants all of them with a microchip and basically says, "Be good or you're all going to be reset." And there's a billboard in everybody's city, and we're all working together. So if we made the algorithm, if we were good enough and we were in the same city, if you do something bad, it goes on the billboard and affects me. So we're all just trying to live and be good. Please don't be bad so we don't die, kind of thing. And so you're just trying to make sure your billboard doesn't go to 100 so we don't all die.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That came from a dream.
It did. Yeah. In fact, in my book, the dream was the prologue. Very vividly, how I wrote the prologue was exactly what I dreamed, and then the ending. So I had in my dream the prologue, and it shot to the ending with characters' names and everything. And so I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, wrote everything down, shared it with my family, and my husband said, "Write a book. Seriously, it's time. Write a book." So.
That's impressive, because most of my dreams I can remember them for about 4-5 seconds after I wake up, and then they're gone. They just dissolve in my brain. The fact that it could actually stay in yours long enough to write it down and tell a story and make a book out of it, that's impressive. That's really impressive. Have you had any other dreams that have inspired books, or just the one?
So also a secret. Yeah, I have 2 completed manuscripts from a dream. Actually, it's a series of books, and it's all from a dream, also very vivid. But it's a fairy tale retelling in a sense, but it's more, instead of all the retellings you see right now, it's more of a Disney origin story. And the idea is that the Disney tales that we all love were actually a secret dark family curse, and it kind of expounds upon that family curse and what happened to the Disney family.
Yeah.
I have that written. It's my heart. It's my first actual completed manuscripts, but nobody wants to touch it because they keep saying, "Oh, Disney is not going to like this. We can't go against Disney." Because
Oh,
I'm
no.
bringing darkness to Disney, if you will, like not just like a villain. Like it's actually, they said it's defaming Disney, and they think Disney would come after me. So I have to make
Okay.
it as a big time author. and then make Disney want to buy my books.
I see. I see. Well, what about the kind of like the Brothers Grimm? 'Cause isn't that most of the fairy tales came from Brothers Grimm anyway?
It did. It did. Disney definitely has a lot of their stuff from the Brothers Grimm, which are super dark and twisted,
They
but
are.
you don't hear about the Brothers Grimm, but Disney is a household name. So
They are. Maybe remarket as a kind of a Brothers Grimm type deal. That way it's I don't know, that'd be kind of interesting. Then maybe you get it out sooner if you want to, you
well,
know.
I don't ever say Disney. So that's the thing.
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
Disney lover. Like my
Sure.
kids' rooms, my boys' room is Avengers, my girls' room is classic Disney, and I love Disney. I have my best friend works at Disney. I heart
Cool.
Disney. Never been.
Yeah.
That's the dream. But COVID
Same.
kind of ruined that. Yeah, I've never been. I just love what Disney does and
Yeah.
the magic behind it. So I never say Disney. I wrote it in a way where, but if you are a Disney lover, you'll pick up on it. You'll so somebody who's never even could care less about Disney, they could read it and it's a creepy family saga. But somebody who knows Disney goes, "Whoa, wait a minute, you're talking about so and so." So
Huh.
I was told by an agent she would take it, but she wanted me to change all the characters and the colors schemes and the things that I use that hinted to Disney. And I said, well, then I'm changing my whole book, and I don't want to do that. So
Okay. So yeah, if you don't want to change your premise or change, like the essence of it, then yeah, you might have to hold off until you get a bigger fan base and more draw. So
that's what I'm hoping. So
yeah, well, just keep in your cupboard for a while and just make sure you look at it every now and then and hopefully bring it into the light. That'd be kind of cool to check.
dreams have been good for me. I've got
Good.
two other outlines that were dream related. So
No
dreams
kidding.
are my friend.
Yeah, no kidding. I need to channel some kind of dream energy because I don't. Mine is if I can get no dreams, I wake up when I actually have after I've had a good dream, I tend to not have a great day after because I haven't slept very well for some weird reason.
Oh
It's like a
yeah.
half. It's really strange for me. So that it's working for you though. So keep it up. Keep it up. Now, I want to touch real quick on you have a very busy family life. You stated in your bio, you've got 6 kiddos and you're writing books. I only have 2 kiddos and writing books is challenging. How and on earth are you getting through writing these novels? Like, how are you doing this?
Coffee.
I
No
use coffee
sleep.
too.
No
Oh,
sleep. I pretend like sleep
oh,
is my enemy. I sleep
oh
about four
man.
4 hours a night. That's about it.
Oh, I
Writing for
wish.
me has to be done when kids are napping or kids
Yeah.
are asleep late at night. That's really the only time I can free write. I have an awesome support team. My husband is pretty great. He'll take the kids. Like for my sequel that's coming out, he took the kids for a whole day so I could just literally go away in a hotel and write. So I have to fit it in like that. I also am a marketing assistant and I do that pretty much full time, but I can do it from home. And then I was full time working up until about 6 weeks ago, and now I just volunteer at my church to do all the work that I do, and my husband's starting to travel as a nurse so I can try to come home and do this more. So very little writing time actually. You just fit it in when you can. I mean, really that's the life of a new author.
Yep. Yes, it is. It took me a long time to get mine done, but it sounded like we were talking about prior to me hitting record. You were telling me that you knocked out a book in. I mean, to me, that's lightning fast. Could you kind of reiterate what you told me earlier?
I've been fortunate enough. I mean, I've only written 5 books now, but I've been fortunate enough. I only have 2 published, but I've only written 5. I've been so great that I haven't hit the writer's block yet. That hasn't been a thing to me. I
That's
also
great.
use Dove dark chocolate. I know this sounds weird, but I have a box of Dove dark chocolate and I suck on it. And honestly, I think it kind of shuts all the thoughts in my brain off because I'm so focused on what I'm doing in my
Yeah.
mouth that my brain is clear to write. So I can typically write a chapter that's about 3 to 4,000 words in an hour and a half tops, depending on the
Holy
content of what I'm doing.
wow. Wow. That's fast.
Yeah, I just kind of my brain just kind of shuts off, and I love writing so much. It's such a stress relief for me. I started
Mm.
writing when I was 9 years old. Grew up in a lot of childhood trauma, and reading and writing was an escape for me. So I just kind of go into a zone and a happy place. And writing, out of all the authoring things that I do, writing is the only one that doesn't cause me stress.
Now you were saying that editing was one thing that just drove you a little crazy. Like you're like, I can't do the editing part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't self-edit. I don't that trauma that I was talking about, it's kind of ruined my self-confidence as a person. And anything that I do, I doubt everything that I do. So especially in
Oh,
writing because it's so passionate for me that I have a very hard time reading what I wrote because I go, "Man, I'm not good enough," or "Oh, people are going to hate this." So if I try to edit, I'll just delete everything and put it in the trash
oh
bin.
no.
So I don't edit. I it's and everybody, like my mom will read it, she's Savannah, you misspelled the word two. And I'm like, I know, and that's part of the lightning typing, you know what I mean? Your
It is.
brain's moving so fast, faster than your fingers. And I type 78 words a minute. So I do
Mhm.
type rather quickly. I was a police 911 dispatcher, and you have to type rapid fire
You
to be able
do.
to do that. So I type very quickly, but I can't edit. No, I just say, well, somebody will catch that spelling error. It's okay. It's not going to be me though, because I can't read my material.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that I've heard that from another friend of mine who's not she's not an author, but she has thought about doing it. I keep telling her, I'm like, just write stuff down, do it. I'd love to hear. She's got cool ideas. I'd love to hear her actually or see some of her work. She goes, nope. Every time you're the second person I've heard this from. Every time she wrote something and she sees how she wrote it, she doesn't like one thing about it, deletes the entire thing. I'm like, no. So I might push her to your methodology of just write it down, throw it to somebody else.
Throw it aside. I do. I have to. And in fact, to be honest, even Reset, I have not read it through front to back yet. I haven't. And when I was doing the final author editing, I got, so this is after everybody's edited everything and it should be the clean version. And I'm doing the last inspection. I got 6 chapters in and I was like, I don't remember writing that. Like I know I did. I don't because I don't go back and read anything. So I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, that's new for me. Okay, I didn't remember writing that. And then it's like, oh, you know what? I can't. Nobody's gonna want to read this. So I didn't even do my final author edit. I should have, but I didn't.
Goodness.
I just trusted everybody else involved because I just doubted myself so much. So I rely heavily on editing teams because I can't do it.
Oh,
So
that's so funny. So like when they have feedback, if they've got feedback for you or things that you need to fix, like continuity things, how do you process? How do you do that?
Uh, well, first I cry. Oh
Well,
man, am
of
I a
course.
screw up? You know, first I cry, but then no, I had a really great editor on this. He was super, and he didn't know who I was. He didn't know my backstory. He didn't know what I needed, but he was super pumped up about the story. It's super
Yeah.
hyper, like encouraging, and oh my goodness, this is amazing. This is a great debut. I can't believe this, but what do you think about this? So he kind of softened the blow. You know what I mean? So it was
Yeah.
easier for me to process and digest that it's not, he doesn't think it's bad, he just thinks we could improve or we should change. And so,
Yeah.
and I didn't have, outside of grammatical stuff, I didn't have, and I'm a grammar snob, but I didn't have, there was maybe only 10 to 12 things that he wanted me to look at,
Okay.
really. So there wasn't as much that I had to do, and it didn't take very long. And in fact, there was even one scene that he questioned, not in a negative way, but he's like, do you really think that this would happen? And I said, I absolutely think this would happen, and here's the reason. He said, which shocked me, he goes, you know what, I'm going to agree with you on this one, forget I said anything. And I was like, okay, that's cool. So it was a, he made the process. I had a really good editor, and he made the process easier.
That's really helpful. That's what editors, in my opinion, need to be doing because they're there to help you communicate clearly. And I mean, like you said, lightning fast, typing, you're gonna miss something here and there. So I mean, hopefully down the line when you do a couple more of these, maybe you can start doing some more self edits. Just it is kind of it's weird. You get into I have a similar kind of anxiety with editing my own stuff because I'm like, oh God, it's just gonna be hot garbage. This is just terrible. And then I start reading, I'm like, man, it's actually not bad. Like I red pen edit the crap out of my stuff because I have a higher expectation of my stuff and I'm giving that to myself. Like, okay, let me do this. I want to polish it off, give it to my beta readers so they have a good experience reading it as much as
Yeah.
possible because I mean my story is huge. It's going to go about 5 books, and yeah, it's gigantic. So having those other eyes, it helps me kind of go, okay, I did miss this hole here. Let me fill that here, and I can
Yeah.
go back and read it. But if your editor is doing that for you too, it's just more professional eyes because it's
Yeah.
your editor is great though. It sounds awesome.
Yeah. He's super cool.
That's good. Now you said, what feedback have you gotten so far from your published books?
So the other one's a children's book. So that one's kind of,
Cool.
yeah, the feedback I've never intended to be a children's book author, but the synopsis I accidentally inadvertently wrote in Reset. So they're kind of tied together. I did. Yeah, I didn't mean to, but I did. But anyways, I've gotten, you know, being an author is subjective. Like I literally, somebody with my lack of self-worth is not good to be an author because, and I knew going into it, people are going to be, you're going to have half the people who are so kind and then half the people who are just trolls. I mean, just
Yeah,
hateful for no
just
reason.
rude.
You know, you can critique without being cutthroat and hateful.
Yes.
So I've had one 2-star review, I think, with no feedback. So I could no, there was feedback. There was just they thought they wanted the book to be longer. They felt
Oh,
like it should have been a longer book. And then I think 1 3, maybe 4 4, and then the rest have been 5 stars. So
great.
I've had sweet feedback. Just, another thing they don't teach you as an indie author is how to gauge success, if you will. Like what sells means success. I'm not making money off of it. So I know you can't gauge it off success because when you're a first time author, you're not going to make money. So unless something happens and you fall into the lap of somebody who just, you just make it huge. But
Yeah,
typically that doesn't happen. So that's been hard. But I've had like 3 people tell me I have the gift of writing, which to me that's like one of the most amazing things somebody could say to you. I've had 2 people tell me that because of them they got their love of reading back, and I feel like, okay, that's one of the things you want to hear.
that's
I
great.
made somebody's top 10 reads of 2022 last year, and the book had only been out since October. So I look at all of those things and they keep me, and just right when I feel like I'm gonna just like lose the zeal for it, some reader sends me something or tags me or puts my book in a group, and it's like, okay, just keep going, little small victories.
Hmm.
I had a reader send me this tumbler from my book.
Oh, wow.
She put a quote from my story in it. So just like things like that is like, I feel like they're on your author bucket list and things are happening. Like, okay, getting stuff from a reader, never thought that would happen. That's pretty
No.
cool. It's been mostly positive feedback. It really has.
That's good. You gotta, and that's the hard part is you can have, I think they say it's like you can have 10 or 12 different positive feedback moments, and that has to trounce like one negative. So it's like that's how severe we are onto ourselves. Like
Yeah.
we're kind of our worst enemy with that. It's like someone gives us a sort of negative, comment or feedback, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to overlap that with so much more positivity, and then but everyone's going to have their own opinion. Not everything you write is going to be what other people want to read, and that
Yeah.
we have to come to terms with that, which is hard. It's hard
And I
because
prepped myself. I prepped myself for it. In fact, I told my mom I won't read reviews. I told her, you read all the reviews. I don't want to read them. You say that. And I like literally like went into the boxing ring, like boxing myself. You can do this. Somebody's going to say something bad. That's okay. That's their opinion. They have the right to.
yeah,
And all of those things,
yeah.
but when it happens, it still feels like a gut punch. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, yeah, our stories are close to our chest. I mean, they really are. I didn't tell a single soul about me doing a book. I started when I was 15, and I just said I started it, and I didn't touch it for like 15 years. So it stood in closet, hang out in the closet for a long time. And finally, about I hit 30, and I'm like, okay, I need to pull this thing out and get this thing done. So when it finally came out, it was like, and people were like, oh, you wrote a book? It's like, yeah, yeah. Did I? Yeah. Don't read it though. don't don't look at it. Just know that I did, and just don't give me it. Just don't talk to me about it. It took me a long time to kind of get comfortable with that, with
I'm
even that
I'm
fact.
still not. We go to events and I'm
It's
supposed to be
weird.
there promoting myself, and they'll be at the table and I'm like, "Hey, did you see that book over there?" Like I'm trying to get away from my table, and my mom goes and she's like, "Savannah, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I can't sell myself. It stresses me out. Asking people to spend money on me, that stresses me out." So I will try to encourage them to go check. She's like, "Savannah, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm not doing this well. That's what I'm doing. I'm not. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to sell books for other authors."
Well, that's what this is for me. Like I part of the podcast was for me to sell myself and my books more, and I have way more fun and I enjoy promoting other people versus promoting myself. It's like, yeah, my books are cool, but have you seen these guys? They're awesome. Check them out. And so I kind of look at them like, you know what, the podcast here is going to be doing a little bit of both because it ups my, I get to meet cool people like yourself, and I mean dozens and dozens of folks who have good resources, good tools and tips, and then through that hopefully the book, the audience grows. That's how I've kind of done my marketing, not nearly as direct as I should be, but
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm that's my niche I'm diving into, so I can totally feel what you're dealing with. Self-promotion, it's painful. So you said there's going to be other books in the future. So when are those to be expected out?
Well, I ended Reset on a major cliffhanger. In fact, half my reviews say something about to the effect of, "How could you do that? Why did you do this to us? What a cliffhanger!" And honestly, I'm waiting for the person who says, "I figured it out." Like not in a negative way. Like, I'm excited to meet the reader who goes, I knew that was coming. Because so far, everybody said that it's like audibly gasped out loud because they didn't see it coming. So I ended it on a cliffhanger knowing there was going to be another book, and it's coming out in May. So,
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
yeah.
Very cool. So very, very short, fairly shortly right now. So as for the readers who don't know this, we started doing this interview in March. And so by when this comes out, it'll be May. So it should be about that time where you get have that promoted, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Now, so for your actual publish, I think you already answered this, but the easiest aspect to getting your book published, what was the simplest, either the most fun or the simplest side of getting your book published?
Oh, none of it. Oh, publishing. I queried agents like you are told you're supposed to do because it's the only thing I knew to do for over a year with
Mhm.
not with Reset with the other one, and it was a self-confidence suck. Like, it was hard, like seeing the rejection emails. Great story, but I'm not interested. Oh, intriguing, but I don't want to work with you. It's like,
Uh,
so that was tough. And then I actually did a training class with a like online about publishing. Like, I was like, let me see if I can do something better, a better query letter. What maybe I'm doing something wrong. And I didn't even realize about Amazon KDP at the time. I mean, I'm so new last year. I was a reader, not an author. I had no idea how big the world had become. And so I found a hybrid publishing company where it's basically self-publishing, but they just do everything in-house for you. The
right.
cover, it's all a one-stop shop, and you pay them like you would pay a normal person. You pay everything up front, and then they handle everything and just keep you in the loop. That
Yeah.
was easier for me because I started looking on websites like Fiverr and all these places people were recommending, and it was like, how do I pick the right people and all of this stuff and the formatting and the all of these things? Like, I don't know who to pick to trust to do this. So I think it was easier for me to have everything in one house and not have to find all the different elements because it was overwhelming. So that part was okay. And she offered training classes, all of her library of training classes for an author, like how to set up your social, your websites, how to market better. So that was really cool. And then she would contact me once a month to touch base with me. So as a new author,
Okay.
that made the process easier because I felt like I had somebody with knowledge to lean on and help guide me. And it kind of took out all the guesswork. So that was easier for me than trying to do it completely, finding everybody on my own.
Oh yeah, no, that's how it worked for me too. I actually found a good friend of mine who is I called her a book lady. She sells books for a company. Used to be Usborne. It's a different company
Uh-huh.
now. But she's got a network together, and she talked to a gal who runs a network in Washington, and she happened to be working with a published author whose whole gambit is getting people published. So
Mm.
I basically hired him as my coach, and he had all this huge mass of resources. He goes, "What do we need? We need this, this, this. Here's a few options." So very similar to kind of how you went to, except you went to a publisher versus a individual person, and
Yeah,
he kind
it,
of
it
gave me
it it
everything.
helped.
Yes, having that one source, and then it's also a trusted
Mhm.
source. I had
Yeah.
this guy vouched for via people I trusted already, and then it just made it so much simpler. Go, here's the sources I have for you. Go ahead and pick which one you want. Look through it, and was able to, and just kind of, and it was on my own timeline, which was great. So I could
Mhm.
do it as the book was getting done. I could get the covers done. I could get the editing done. So
Well,
it's
I started reaching out and had
crazy.
so many authors give me horror stories of hiring somebody and them taking their money or not editing
Yep.
well, and they trusted them and the book was a mess. And it was like, okay, I need a brown paper sack because I'm freaking out right now. Like, how do you know who you're supposed to use? So, streamlining everything into one place made it much what I needed. It's
Yeah,
definitely what I needed.
you had choice paralysis at that point. It's
Yeah,
like, I don't know who to go with. It's just not
abs-
good for us. Yeah, well, that
absolutely.
I'm glad that's kind of clarified. And it's always the hardest the first time you get your book done. That is the hardest time. Once you have your first process, we don't tend to deviate. We want to kind of stay with the same editor, the same cover designer, the same layout person, the same everything. And
Yes.
so as long as you've got your system down, that's what really counts. And if those of you who are listening are trying to get your book published, you can reach out to Savanna here, or you can reach out to me, and we can probably point you in at least a trusting direction. So however you want to go. So I've through this podcast, I've got dozens of contacts who are very reliable, trustworthy people. So if you're interested, reach out
Absolutely.
to myself or Savannah. So now curious about this. So as a child, what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you want to be an author when you were a kid?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did. I did, but I had a very bad stepfather who
Hmm.
told me I would never be or couldn't be anything, and he didn't love me because I wasn't biologically his, and
Ugh,
just a lot of stuff. So I wanted to be an author, but I wrote my first book when I was 9. It was a mystery book. It's in some landfill on an old dinosaur computer somewhere. I didn't, but I
gotta
wanted
compare it
to, but
to.
it just didn't seem like it seemed so Hollywood. You know what I mean? It didn't seem like it was going to be a real thing that I could do. Now, I mean, it's easier than ever to become an author, not
Yes.
successful, but to be an author. If you want to say I published a book,
Yeah.
you can do that. Amazon's made that super easy, but I wanted to be a big author, and I was told I couldn't, and so I believed that I couldn't do it. So it's something I wanted to do for 25 years now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I think as long as you just keep pushing and you keep writing, you keep marketing, and you just don't stop,
Yeah.
you who knows what the heck is going to happen. So just keep doing exactly what you're doing. Have that energy. So that zeal, once you lose, it's kind of hard to get back. And you can, but I've talked to many people who it just takes a little bit of time that goes into hibernation, then comes back to the surface, because most of us are all storytellers. We want to tell good stories, we want to entertain. And when you have those moments of self-reflection, go, I'm going to write another book, get this going, and have a good time with it. There's nothing better, really. I mean, you get in that zone and you're able to channel whatever voices in your head onto paper. It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, it sounds like the writing energizes you.
Oh yeah, it literally writing and reading for me was an escape when I was a child. It's the
Yeah.
only escape that I got for normalcy, and so for me, I want that for people. And it doesn't have to be trauma you're escaping from. It could just be a crappy situation at work, or
Yeah.
kids are driving you crazy. And so I want my stories, but I want to be a successful author because I want that, but I also want it to platform me. I do public speaking, and there's a
Good.
host of people and children out there who think because they're broken, they can't be used. And that's how I felt growing up. And I want to change that mindset. I have foster kids, and I want to show them broken can be beautiful and damage can be productive. So
Mhm.
I want that authority and notoriety as an author to help me book events to be able to speak to people and help them.
Absolutely. That's a good methodology to do. I mean, just look at, broken can be beautiful. I like that might be a good mantra for you for doing some speaking.
It is my mantra.
Is it? That's great.
Hmm.
Also, I'm like thinking like what's broken that is also beautiful. Look at like monuments like the Sphinx got no nose. The Pisa wasn't supposed to be tilted to the right, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's a couple things that's still impressive, it's still incredible. So just on the topic of success, because everyone has their own definition, but when you look at your life, let's just say, you're on your deathbed or the last couple of years of your life, what would look like success to you? You say I was a successful author. What does that look like to you at the end of your life?
I don't know. I've been spinning my wheels trying to figure out what makes it successful. And I feel like if what I feel is successful is reaching people, I've already done that. I've already reached new readers, I've met new friends, and so that's great. But I do think for me it's big time. I feel like I because of what I want to do, my end goal is speaking and helping people. I'm not there yet. So if I have been able to done enough as an author that I've booked speaking engagements and I've helped somebody out there on that platform, then I'll feel like I hit success because
Awesome.
that's where my heart is.
That's a great answer. I love that. Just because I mean, it's not a selfish answer. I'm helping others get to where they want to be, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, however they need to find healing or growth or whatever. So that's a great answer. And you can do that forever and ever. You can find how you can find the platform to speak on, and you can touch people and they can grow, and then you can be mentors with them or for them, to them, whatever. And
Yeah,
then over time they can hopefully pass on that legacy to more people. So
absolutely.
that's a great goal to have. Now, if you could look at your younger self, talk to your younger self, and give them any kind of writing advice or publishing advice, or just anyone in general, what kind of advice would you give someone for who wants to be a writer or an author?
So when I signed my first book, the unveiling of your first book in hand, it's such a surreal moment. And I signed it to my younger self. We did it. So
Very cool.
I would literally just go back. Okay, Ryan, trying to get in my feels. I would I would tell myself that it does not matter what the people tell you.
Yeah.
You're not formed by those people. God made you and made you special, and you go for it. And it doesn't matter if it's hard, it doesn't matter if it's hateful, and it doesn't matter if it's hurtful. You do what you do, and you know your own heart, and forget about everybody else. Do for you so you can help others. And I wouldn't have waited so long.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. Well, and I always look at it too. It's like, yeah, you waited a little bit of time, but sometimes you might have needed that time to process and reflect, and you wouldn't have been the person you are. Maybe your story would have been different if you started younger. Maybe it wouldn't have been as good if you started younger. So
Yeah,
sometimes that
absolutely.
time, that experience, life experience, generally, it can definitely tell life experience and writing experience when you start reading those books, if they've had more of that or less of that. So
Right.
that's an excellent answer. Thank you so much. Okay, so people are probably chomping at the bit now. They want to figure out where they can get your books. Where can we get copies of your books?
So I am on Amazon, Savanna Loy. You just Google my name. And then, of course, if this is coming out in May, both of them, the duology will be both out there. And then I have a children's book too. So it's easiest just to Google my name, Savanna, no H, Loy, Loy. But I also have an author website where you can get signed copies, and that's authorsavvyloy.com, SAVYLOY. So
Amazing. Cool. Excellent. So everyone go get some books. Go get some dystopian fiction. It sounds pretty interesting. I want to read it myself. I think it'd
thanks.
be pretty cool. No
My next
problem.
project is a serial killer series.
Ooh. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
5 books, and it will be semi based on true story. And I tell people that in my childhood, and they say, "Oh, did somebody kill somebody?" No, but if I tell you what it's based on, it will ruin the reveal of book 4. So I can't tell you that, but it's going to be insane.
Oh
And
man.
also, all my books are clean. You'll never find cussing or smut in my book, so anybody can read them. It doesn't take away from the storyline, but I just want it accessible to as many people as I can. So
That's a good idea. I like that. Because a lot of people enjoy the crime thriller, and it doesn't have to be gory. It just has to be can be suspenseful
yeah,
and still clean and still have a good story attached to it.
yeah.
Well, that's great. So, Savanna, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule of being a mom of all the children, all the foster kids,
Yeah.
and doing all your great author stuff, your marketing and everything. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to meet with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I just wanted to peep my cover. Look at that. You see
That
that
is,
heart with it?
oh, that's gorgeous.
Isn't that
People,
crazy?
that is very cool. People won't be able to see it because it's all audio, but
Oh, okay.
it's totally cool.
For
But
you.
it's just for me. It's a very well detailed actual heart, and it says, can I tell them the cover
Yeah, yeah,
name?
yeah.
It's called Reborn.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty cool, very nice cover. So whoever did your cover, props to them. That's
My
awesome.
my husband is an RN, so if it wasn't an accurate heart, he would have divorced me. So it had to be real.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, you definitely had a good judge of hearts there.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Well, again, Savannah, thank you so much, and I look forward to reading your book and to watching you be successful with your authorship.
Thank you so much, Ryan. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, everybody, go get her book, and as always, have a great day. Stay mighty and keep reading. Are you an author? Do you know someone who is? If so, then message me, Ryan Oliver, at ryanmoliver.com to set up a free appointment to discuss being showcased on the Mighty Books podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the Mighty Books YouTube channel and share the link to this and more episodes with your friends and family. Thanks for listening. So long for now. Stay mighty and keep reading.